We're here. We made it. Our guest today is Stephen Black. Stephen, welcome.
Hi. Hi. Welcome. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you here. To all those that are listening today, we're also happy to have you exploring with us on the Christopher Lafayette podcast show. Let's chop wood. Who's Stephen Black?
Huh. um, I've written books about that. Simply, we are speaking today because I am working with augmented reality. I've been very fortunate since 2015 to be part of this super fast growing, very, very exciting field. And I think that's a good starting point. I should say I started and I've lived most of my life in Asia, meaning in 2015, I was traveling in Southeast Asia with my partner, and it suddenly felt very right to return to spatial computing. Again, I'm keeping this short, but previously I've worked in TV, I've worked for a game making company. And in 2015, it just seemed like the horizon for spatial computing, whether it was VR or AR, was just opening up, and it was time to make a commitment to it.
With the advent rise of augmented reality and deployable devices, certainly far more than what we're seeing on the other side of things with virtual reality and the distribution of head-mounted display headsets, what are your thoughts on the current state of augmented reality?
Well, augmented reality is actually a very large field. As you know, there are military uses, educational uses. I have zero experience with Microsoft's program, and the HoloLens is huge. I think so. It's exciting. But it's a very, very big world. Filters, Instagram, that is just such a booming thing. A friend of mine worked on a project for the Squid Games, and 1 billion downloads with the B. Amazing. So people are starting to, well, depending on where you are along the technological curve, you've known about AR for a long time, but it's really starting to break into the mainstream. I'm specifically focused on geopose-based augmented reality, location-based augmented reality. So in my field, it's only been in the past year where we've got things that we can show people and say, hey, not this is what it can do, but this is what it does. We can show people, bring them on site, set up experiences. So it's only in the past year for me that I finally have gotten beyond. I used to walk around with a little doll. I have a character called Bubiko, and I would walk around with this paper doll and say, oh, eventually she'll be walk around on your table and talk about your food and do this or do that. And now we're finally starting to show people, proof of concept or actual projects. It's still very new, of course.
When we talk about mapping augmented reality, when we think about the grid and what that means, be it transit, ingress, egress, ecologically to where one may be, bring that out for us that are listening and for those that may not know and for us that may know. Let's go a little bit beneath the surface on that, Stephen.
Okay, well, first of all, I should say I am the least technical person you can meet. You would meet. They've called me the caveman, but and also, just as there was confusion with AR and VR, there's confusion as to what the metaverse is, and in a way, that's what we're talking about. Um, I will be very specific on the system that I'm using, and I will mention names if that's okay. I don't mean to sound promotional, but they're the first people that are doing it, so I have to default to them. But Augmented City is using a system supervised or in participation with the Open Augmented Reality Cloud. And what they are doing is mapping the city. The first city that I know of on a large scale to be mapped for a digital twin or for spatial computing is Bari, Italy. And they've mapped 100 square kilometers, about 30 square miles, where they've created a digital twin of the city, a 3D model. Now, when I went there, I was very fortunate to be one of the first people to play with it, and I made a short film. And in the short film, Bubiko, our character, flies through the city. So with the app, you can see Bubiko fly around. But again, there's confusion because the metaverse is often used for VR. Digital twin is a similar term. All of this is very new and the terminology is not yet locked down. You mentioned an interesting point about ecology. One of my hopes is that, these big players that are mapping the world give some serious thought to the fact that it is the real world. Niantic just launched this beautiful program to help developers create things for the real world. Beautiful promo, beautiful ideas. But what about the real world? It's no longer, separate from what we're doing. We're taking things into the real world. So is there going to be garbage there? Is there going to be crime there? What are these companies going to do to create a safe and ethical environment for their players?
What is augmented reality to the metaverse from your lens perspective?
Well, the word augment just means to add or to improve. So right now we are adding Unity type, Unity based data to the real world. So whatever you can do in Unity now, it's a very simple thing. I shouldn't say simple. The process is now established to create 3D models, sound files that when one has the app, you can go to the location and see things in 3D. You can walk around. Now, again, with the augmented city geopose, XR Masters is another company doing something like this. And there are probably others, but those are the ones that I have a working relationship with. They are creating persistent and shareable experiences, meaning once it's there, whether there's 10 people, 10,000, it's there until it's removed. And that's an important thing for going back to the filters and other uses. They're what I call ice cubes. They're important and they're nice, but they're not really permanent.
What are you building? What's your contribution early days in this metaverse singular? And what is it
Uh,
that you're wanting to share with others?
um, I guess, I'm coming from it completely independent. I go to the talks and everyone else is with a big company or a big university. And I'm there just saying, this is a new frontier, very exciting as an artist, as a producer. And let's try and build something that's good. I mean, I don't want to say fun because that makes it seem like I'm a gamer and there's nothing the matter with gamers, but I just think we've got the opportunity to really improve, augment reality. And what are we going to do about it? So I'm not on a soapbox, but with Bubiko, I'm just saying, hey, this new technology can be fun. And of course, no denying, I do hope, there will be some financial returns that eventually happen. But right now it's fun to play around. It's fun to make history. So that's it. Maybe some people think I'm a clown or a joke. That's okay. But I'm very fortunate to have some people that have supported what I'm doing. And I don't mean, financially, but just they've got this great tech. So some of these people have great tech, but they don't know how to get in front of the public. So I guess I've been called an evangelist and I don't mind that term, but that often implies, finances. And nobody's paying me. I'm just out there trying to get Bubiko to make some friends around the world and have some fun.
And how has this experience been for you? I know that you're very community based and that you explore and to see what's out there, what's relevant, what's prevalent. Where does this come from, Stephen?
Wow, I don't know. Well, part of it is necessity. As I mentioned to you in 2015, when the Oculus came out, I was, super excited about that. But then I realized, number one, how many people are actually going to want to wear something on their head? Of course, there are many, many that want to do that, but everybody in the world has a phone. So that was an important point. Number two, with VR, you're automatically talking a team and many, many dollars. With augmented reality, in the beginning, and of course now there's so many little things that you can do, little kits, little development kits, Snapchat, Instagram. It's amazing. So with that, I started to gain experience, but eventually I realized I need to start networking or building the community with people that are ready for the next level. And, again, 2015, that I was interested in this before RKit and RCore. So when I would go into the, the Reddit or the GitHub things and just be, lost in the woods, but I would try to find somebody that was using 3 or 4 words that somehow connected to what I was doing. I don't know if you know Scarred Ghost Anthony. Do you know? I started talking to him in 2015, and bless his heart, I had some ideas for VR and I tried to phrase them, and he gave me the time of day. And that really made me feel like, wow, I'm coming into it at an older age. I'm coming into it with zero tech experience. And I saw him in Italy last year, and it was a great thing. I said, Tony, if it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't be here, because you know you're taking a big leap into I don't want to say it's a scary world, but there's no mercy. And if you don't have something to bring to the table, people don't care. I mean, bluntly. So back to your point, community was by necessity, and fortunately just met some great people. And of course, great people tend to introduce you to other great people. So Augmented City, XR Masters, Nova B, Flamingo Filters. I'm sorry, I'm going to miss people, but at the end of the day, they're good people who are also open-minded and have technical chops. So there you go.
So from Italy to Austin.
It, yeah, all over the place. Yeah, Italy, Washington, Asia, everywhere. That's another exciting thing, is that it's a global community. OARC is founded by Jan Erik Vigne, and I think he's in Denmark. Or I'm sorry if I've got that wrong, but really it's fun. I look at my emails and I think, wow, I've got people from all over the world here. So
What are you wanting to see in technology today? We're still find ourselves in a pandemic. The world has changed with distributed workforce and how we go about doing daily business and activities and tasks. Entertainment has changed. The update of acceleration of content and video on demand and film and media and the way that we consume music. What do you want to see in this ecosystem?
oh eh, I just a place where everyone is included. I mean, whether it's grandparents or young kids, rich, poor, whatever, everyone is invited, and we're building on strengths rather than building on bad points of our past. I don't know. Maybe you remember when VR started, there was talk of it being an empathy machine, and I really kind of cringed at that, because it's putting hope in technology. And if it's not within us, if it's not within our hearts, it's not going to magically make the world a better place. And then maybe that sounds hippy dippy or naive, but really, we can't build a better world. It has to come from within us. If whatever's within us goes out there, that's the bottom line. So if we're going to have a world of Grand Theft Auto in reality, okay, that's what we want to do. But I'm hoping that maybe we can connect people better. I mean, that, I guess that's a neutral thing. So if your interest is in anime or Grand Theft Auto or cooking or whatever, you're going to connect with more people in better ways. I mean, that's the point of the AR and VR, I guess, is just to connect people. That makes sense.
Stephen, it was beautifully expressed. It's well met. I think when you think about the opportunity, and I want your take on this, and as our audience is with us, what does it mean to approach the metaverse responsibly with opportunity that many of us see and perhaps some don't? Do we have an opportunity to get things right that we haven't got right?
I it's almost 2022, and no one can really deny that reality needs some help. And no matter what we're doing, we have to have that in mind. It's nice to have people walking around parks in San Francisco with their dogs, and and playing all these things in the promos, but in reality, what's happening. You go by the edge of the water, there's going to be issues, there's going to be crime, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. And I don't mean to be negative, I'm just trying to be realistic. If we're building AR on reality, automatically that's got to be part of our business plan. If someone goes out with the greatest software in the world, the greatest game in the world in AR, and they go out and get stabbed, or climate change means they die in a flood, that's part of the business plan. I mean, so it's not just, again, this hippy dippy stuff, it's reality. Literally augmenting reality means we've got to look at what's there, and okay, we don't even want to talk about, surveillance capitalism and all that stuff. That's a different story. People have got to make money. I understand that. But if you're talking about reality, just look at it. Not just your neighborhood, but everybody's neighborhood. But I want
So
to have fun. I want to have fun. I don't want to be the sour grapes guy that's pointing his finger at people. I just want Bubiko to fly around and land wherever she lands, and work with other people. I mean, there are some great companies out there that I think do have, a lot to be proud of in terms of, trying to improve the world and not just make a buck.
what's the story of Bubiko?
Bubiko. Okay, trying to keep it short. I was given a doll as a going away present, and I had no use for a doll. So I put it in a box for 10 years. I met Sayuri Okayama, my partner, my girlfriend, and she saw it and, of course, thought it was nice. So we had this doll, and it was so old that its clothes had fallen off, rotted off. Not rotted, but just frayed to the point where they'd fallen off. And so somehow we gave it the name Bubiko. And when we started to get serious about AR, I said, look, I've worked for Cartoon Network. I've done this I've worked for a creative director as a game making company. The only way that we can show that we have some skin in the game, or to show that we're serious, is to have something that people can easily understand. So her background is in food, the hotel business, travel. And so we came up with the name of Bubiko Food Tour. And we just started imagining what she could do. What can a digital character do, in the real world that you can't do with, CG graphics, that you can't do with a flat screen. And we came up with Bubiko, and then the idea of spatial cinema, but then very specifically tabletop cinema. Imagine that you've got a phone and you're seeing things happening on the table. So, again, before we were walking around with a paper doll and showing people what you could do with that. But the point is, Bubiko was fun, but it was also a necessity. We needed to show people that we were committed and had an idea that would work in AR or VR or any kind of content, actually. So yeah, we've got t-shirts. We've got, but it's like the punk DIY, no budget. Let's just punch above our weight and see what happens. And fortunately, people have picked up on it. So it's exciting. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned it, if this is okay, but I'm doing a Kickstarter now to put Bubiko in the Thanksgiving Day parade. So that's on my plate right at this moment. So I don't know when this would go out, but if maybe in a month from now, people say, oh, that's the guy that was trying to put Bubiko in the Thanksgiving Day parade. But actually, I spent the month of New York in September testing. I don't know if you've seen the bagels flying in Times Square. So we do have proof of concept. The biggest issue, or one of the biggest issues, is just crowd control. In the past, they've had as many as 3 million people there. So technically, I'm going there this weekend to prepare everything and do testing, so that I fly in the day before Thanksgiving and hopefully everything's ready to go. So another thing, punching above our weight. And if we get hit, we get hit. But if it works, it'll be a nice thing to have happen.
Let's venture off for a moment into the ecosystem of Bubiko, but
Okay.
from the perspective of characters.
Right.
You've been in this space in the industry of character development. You've seen it firsthand. You've been part of the process. What is that world of character development, and how does it pair well from your lens with emerging technologies?
Well, it just, for us and with Bubiko, it just made sense to approach it with the character for so many levels. You know, character, you don't have to feed, you don't have to buy clothes, so practically, once you've got the character created, your costs are fixed. Now, of course, with 3D modeling and movement, you've got a whole you need a budget for that. But it's like a logo, or it's like branding for a company. And of course there are anime groups, you know. um, when I was emerging into this, I was often asked about a business plan, and I included Bubiko as part of the business plan, and a lot of people didn't get it. But you know, you look at so many. Hello Kitty. We used to say that Bubiko was a cross between Hello Kitty and Anthony Bourdain. Now with Anthony Bourdain, we're a little bit hesitant to bring that up, but you say Hello Kitty, and immediately people have a feeling. You know, Mickey Mouse, you immediately have a feeling. Any character that you can think of, you have a feeling. So for us, it was a way to again put our foot forward into the world of AR and say, look, this character has unique, or can do things in AR that she can't do in television, that she can't do in video, that she can't do in a computer game. And that was our way of explaining, you know, spatial computing and how things will be different. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Big time. How does Bubiko address education? What are people taking away from the experience of interaction with Bubiko? And a caveat, what is the scalability? What does the scale 5 years from now success look like with Bubiko natively?
Uh, just as Coca-Cola had a Coke machine within every 5 people, every 5 feet of every person on Earth, imagine every table on Earth has the potential to have a stage show for Bubiko, explaining about nutrition, explaining about the food in front of you. I mean, and I should also add, Bubiko is a flagship. You know, any character in the once we know the back end, once we know lighting, once we know the theatrics of a small table space, anything can happen. Could be a desk in a school, could be education. I mean, so she's a flagship to a whole new world of personal, intimate AR experiences. That's maybe the phrase that I thank you for making me say that. But yeah, I guess intimate tabletop, desktop type experiences is an area which we would like Bubiko to lead and develop a market for.
What are the common or not so common, if any at all, pain points do you have with getting Bubiko to the world?
Money, money. Um, you know, we're on a less than shoestring budget, to put it politely, and happy with what we've done. And that's not a complaint. I mean, we've learned to be very, very frugal, very, very clear with our time and resources. But yeah, now that we know what we're doing, I'd like to upgrade Bubiko. We've got a new design. The 3D model was very beautifully made by a company called Nova B, and they helped us, and we're proud of that. At the same time, we've developed, you know, a newer version of Bubiko, which has to be made into 3D. So yeah, simply funding. And you know, I'd like to go as far as we can without outside money. I mean, that would be great. But at the same time, you know, it could make things go a lot faster. So I'm not necessarily actively looking for money. After Thanksgiving, who knows what will happen, right? I mean, I could perhaps get, you know, revenue as a consultant or as a producer or as an artist or in any number of ways, and try and grow it very, very small, rather than find a, you know, big box of money and make new mistakes, make some interesting mistakes. I'd rather make mistakes on my own dime than have people angry at me.
Have you had time to sort out who does Bubiko influence in terms of consumers, enterprises, companies?
Very, very early. I would say that less than 10,000 people are even familiar with her. I've been doing testing as much as possible. I've made stickers. I've given them to all kinds of kids all over the world, you know, as much as possible all over the world. Adults, you know, no one nice thing, no one has said, oh, she looks like blah, blah, blah. You know, and most of the time, the immediate reaction is, oh, she's so cute. And, you know, I'm giving them away in Toledo and New York on the streets. And, you know, and New York's a pretty tough town, and they've seen it all. So when I give out these stickers, like to a restaurant or to a little coffee shop, and I come back a week later and they've got Bubiko's sticker by the cash register, it makes me want to cry. If you can prove to New Yorkers that this is something that's fun, and if you've seen the stickers, there's nothing on it, no website, no name, no nothing. It's just this little chef. For your folks at home, I'm showing my T-shirt. It's just this little chef, and so far she seems to be striking a chord. But yes, I'd love to show you some data or some statistics about what our survey groups have shown officially. But no, it's just right now we pass out, do Instagram and all that, but so far she's not made an impact beyond, a very small circle.
For those listening and maybe finding themselves with admiration for your daring journey as a pioneer, the trek into the forest, Stephen, what does it take within, in our hearts, to take these steps to go where most people do not in our society and others globally? What does it take within to become an entrepreneur, a pioneer, someone that takes unconventional steps in business?
Oh, you I don't want to say you have to have a tough skin, but you have to actually look at it from their point of view. I've been called mentally ill, I've been called crazy, I've been, laughed at, all kinds of stuff. And I get it. I mean, if someone is living in a very fixed one-track world, any deviation from that is going to raise some questions. And the more that you deviate from that one-track world, the more open you are to all kinds of comments. So it's not so much being tough skinned, but just determined. I mean, I always say you've got to knock on 100 doors before one will open. That means 99 rejections. And that's just part of it. You know, I, I've, I think I contacted you quite a while ago and didn't get a response, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. You also, I think, thank you. Another point you just made me think of is things happen at their own time. And sometimes I think, wow, if we had gotten a bunch of money, 2 years ago, maybe this whole thing would have soured in a way that we can't expect it. But as it is now, we've seen growth. And I think that growth is slow, but it's a result of patience and determination. So to conclude, I think, yeah, just be patient and determined, and, don't let other people's negative perceptions or negative situations get the best of you. It's just part of the game. If this was easy, everybody would do it.
Well
Sorry,
spoken and well meant.
last
And
point, and a professional makes it look easy, as you do.
for those that are listening in, it's not easy. And the honesty, transparency of what you're expressing, indeed, oftentimes I get so many messages that I just simply cannot get back to with all the work that I have in front of me. And I know from my experience of working with entrepreneurs and abundance, even today, I have such a place very close to me for those that chop the type of wood that you've been chopping. It's really not easy for people that identify with empathy what it is that you might be experiencing in climbing a mountain, for the necessity for tool and utility to be equipped to go a little bit higher, meaning the need for capital, the need for fuel to go a little bit further, of all the things that it takes. Let me ask you, with the few questions that we do have remaining,
Yeah.
what's the most important thing that we should know about you, Stephen Black, and what you do when it comes to your work?
Um, really, whatever I do is expressed through Bubiko and my actions. I mean, I like to think I'm a positive guy, but some people might say that's not the case. I just would like to connect with, positive people, and not necessarily in tech. I mean, augment means to improve. So if you're planting a seed, a tomato seed or any kind of seed, that's improving the world. If you're saying a kind word to somebody, that's augmenting. Augment means to improve. Sorry, and I want to go back to one point about the entrepreneurship, and this is a very serious point. I am pretty tough skinned, and I can forge through anything. My partner has gone, has gone through this with me, and she's pretty stoic. but there are other family and friend members that sometimes look at what I'm doing and don't get it. Or, that's kind of the hard thing, is when you're with people that you love and care for, and they don't understand what you're doing. And if you suddenly have a big success, then everybody's your friend. When you don't, that's when that's that's when some difficulties can happen. But flip-flopping again about me, um, I'm just a guy that's trying to have some fun and connect with people that want to have fun. And fun doesn't mean play. I should say I want to be positive and connect with positive people. That's all.
No doubt. It takes thick skin, fortitude, courage, and for me, grace and mercy. How do we become closer to Bubiko? For all of us listening, how do we get, where's the doorway? Because oftentimes through brand identification, tribal identification, how do we find you?
Well, Instagram's an easy thing. That's the easiest. There is a Facebook page, but as you know as well, there are only so many hours in the day, so they're not always updated as much as we'd like. Sayuri, my partner, is in Japan, and she's so far out in the boonies that they have a terrible internet connection. So I'm the only one who ends up doing most of the posting, and that's okay. But you might look at Instagram and say, why is this like 2 weeks old? Which in internet time is decades old, of course. The Kickstarter thing, not to self promote too much, but if I can get Bubiko doing a live broadcast from the Thanksgiving Day parade and get some people looking at that, I think it'll be fun. That's all I can say, is that would be fun. If support the campaign if you like. If not, try to find us, because you're going to see one guy in the middle of a million people, trying to make AR history. This would be it could make history, and depending on the number of viewers, and I don't mean viewers on the computer, but it's mission critical for me to get a lot of people downloading the free app. If I get 50 people, that right now, 50 people looking at one AR experience at the same time is historic. Now, obviously, depending on marketing and how I can get the word out, if there's 5,000 people at that parade watching movie go, that to me, that's fun. That's fun. I'm not going to make any money on that, but just to think that there are when I'm getting excited, and I shouldn't talk too fast, but when you see people with the app looking at something that's not there, it's a magic experience. They've got, you can do it with 19 crimes, you can do it with filters, but when you're looking around your world and see a 3D character there, it is an experience. So yes, please try to follow the Thanksgiving Day parade adventure and Instagram. Thank you for asking that question.
And thank you for sharing. And with my final question for you,
Yeah.
with so much that could be asked, for us that's listening and have just been introduced to Bubiko, if only in a few sentences, or perhaps a few words, what do we tell our friends, our family, our colleagues? How do we describe Bubiko?
She's just this cute little chef that she's the finest chef, finest, cutest chef in all of AR.
Stephen Black, we welcome you to our show. We thank you for spending time exploring and chopping wood and sharing us something different that we're not used to on the Christopher Lafayette podcast show. Thank you for joining us, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Take care, everyone.
And to our audience, thank you for exploring with Stephen Black, myself, the Christopher Lafayette podcast show. We hope to see from you and to hear from you again. Certainly look forward to exploring more uncharted and uncharted frontier. Good night.
Good night.